I still remember the feeling of that cold, uncomfortable plastic chair digging into my back in the principal's office, the institutional smell of stale coffee and desperation hanging in the air, and the sheer, blinding rage that simmered just beneath the surface. My hands were clenched so tightly my knuckles were white, because the principal, Mr. Davies, had just delivered the ultimatum, my 7-year old son, Finn, was banned from school, effective immediately, until I apologized to the parents of the boy who had been bullying him for months. Me apologize to the people whose son had made my child cry almost every single day. They were trying to twist this narrative, turn me into the aggressor, and use my son as leverage to force my compliance. Was I wrong for simply refusing to bend to their insane demands, or for recognizing that the only way out was to bring in an uninvited, highly specialized third party to quietly and surgically dismantle their entire position? Tell me honestly, if your child's safety and well-being were on the line, and the system failed you, would you have done exactly what I did? Or would you have meekly apologized just to get your child back into the classroom? Because I had a feeling that day that I was staring down the barrel of a decision that would either save my son or cost me everything. Let me take you back to how we got to that point, to the months of quiet torment that finally boiled over. Finn is my only son, a bright, sensitive, and imaginative little boy. He loves building elaborate Lego castles and telling stories about space explorers. He started 2nd grade excited, but within weeks, the change in him was noticeable. He started feigning stomach aches in the morning, became withdrawn, and started waking up with nightmares. It took weeks of gentle questioning for him to finally whisper the name of the boy responsible: Ethan. Ethan wasn't just a typical schoolyard tease, he was a calculated bully. He'd hide Finn's books, trip him in the hallway, and, worst of all, he'd gather his little clique and corner Finn at recess, calling him awful names and tearing down his confidence. When I first approached the school, I did it calmly, following protocol. I spoke to Finn's teacher, Mrs. Larson, who was sympathetic but ineffective. "Boys will be boys," was the lukewarm response, "and we'll keep an eye on it." I documented everything: the scratches on Finn's arms, the ripped homework, the sessions with the school counselor. Nothing changed. The school was clearly hesitant to deal with Ethan because his parents, the Maxwells, were major players in the community. Mr. Maxwell was a high-powered corporate lawyer, and Mrs. Maxwell was on the school board fundraising committee. They were influential, wealthy, and used to getting their way, and the school administration was terrified of crossing them. After Finn came home one day with his favorite jacket shredded and his glasses bent, claiming Ethan did it right in front of the supervising teacher, who conveniently missed the incident, I escalated. I demanded a meeting with the principal, Mr. Davies. The meeting was a disaster. It wasn't about solving the bullying, it was about managing the optics. The Maxwells were there, radiating an air of untouchable arrogance. They completely denied everything, twisting Finn's reports into the elaborate fantasies of an oversensitive child. Mrs. Maxwell, with a condescending smile, even suggested Finn needed better coping skills. I lost my temper. Not violently, but verbally. I laid out the evidence, I called them out on their blatant lies, and I finished by looking Mr. Maxwell dead in the eye and saying, "Your son is a menace, and you are enabling him. If you don't control him, I promise you, I will find a way to make the school do it for you." It was a threat, a promise, and a declaration of war. The very next morning, I got the call from Mr. Davies. That's when I found myself back in his office, alone this time. He looked nervous, wiping his brow with a tissue. He informed me that my outburst was unacceptable and disruptive to the harmony of the school environment. He claimed the Maxwells were now threatening legal action against the school for defamation and emotional distress, all because of my outrageous and false accusations. He then delivered the hammer blow. Until you provide the Maxwells with a formal written apology for your behavior and your accusations against their son, Finn will be placed on an administrative suspension. You are creating a hostile environment for everyone involved, and the board has reluctantly agreed with this temporary measure. My stomach dropped. They had actually done it. They had weaponized my son's education to force me to surrender. I stood up slowly, fighting the urge to flip his ridiculous desk over. So, you're punishing the victim's mother for protecting her child and rewarding the parents of the aggressor for their influence. I stated, my voice dangerously level. Mr. Davies just looked down, muttering about procedure and liability. I didn't argue. I just left, walking out of that office and picking up a confused but relieved Finn from the waiting area. I told him he had a special Mommy and Finn week off, but as I drove away, I knew I had crossed a threshold. I couldn't fight them on their terms, lawsuits, board meetings, and polite, useless principal talks. I needed to fight them on my asterisk terms, where influence and wealth didn't automatically guarantee victory. I needed an equalizer. I needed a specialist. So that's the situation I was in. They thought they had me backed into a corner, with my son's academic future hanging in the balance, demanding a humiliating apology as the price of his return. Before I tell you about the man I brought into that office, and the utter chaos that unfolded 24 hours later, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have caved and written that apology just to get your kid back to school, or would you have fought fire with fire, risking everything for a final victory? Because, trust me, the temptation to just write the apology and make the problem go away was strong. But the thought of teaching Finn that bullies win if you just give up was stronger. The first thing I did was call my best friend, Sarah. Sarah works in corporate risk assessment, and she is the most discreet, ruthlessly efficient person I know. I laid out the entire situation, and she listened patiently, her silence more terrifying than any shouting. When I finished, she didn't offer sympathy. She offered a name, Mr. Wallace ***. Mr. Wallace, as she explained, wasn't a lawyer. He was a *** forensic IT consultant ***, who specialized in digital information retrieval and vulnerability auditing for Hine, Worth individuals and companies. His job was to find the skeletons in the digital closet and hand them to the people who could use them legally. He was expensive, discreet, and devastatingly effective. I booked an emergency meeting. I met Mr. Wallace that very evening. He was a quiet, unassuming man in his late 50s, with a gentle demeanor that completely hid his skill set. I paid his substantial retainer and gave him the full details on the Maxwells, providing their full names, Mr. Maxwell's corporate law firm and Mrs. Maxwell's position on the school board committee, plus the dates of every incident I had meticulously logged. My instructions were simple. I need to know everything that can legally ruin their ability to influence this school and their reputation in this community, and I need it fast. He gave me a simple, chilling nod and said, "Give me 24 hours. The richer and more influential they are, the messier the digital footprint always." I went home and didn't sleep a wink, knowing the clock was ticking. The next day, exactly 24 hours after I had left Mr. Davies's office in a fury, I was back. This time, I didn't call ahead. I walked into the school and asked the secretary to inform Mr. Davies that I was here to discuss the terms of Finn's return and that I had brought legal counsel. Mr. Davies looked relieved, assuming I had finally brought my own hapless lawyer to negotiate the humiliating apology. He ushered me into his office, and there they were, the Maxwells sitting side by side, smugly triumphant, clearly expecting my surrender. And then in walked the man I had quietly brought, Mr. Wallace. He wasn't dressed like a lawyer. He wore a simple, expensive suit and carried a slim, innocuous briefcase. The Maxwells blinked at him, confused. Mr. Davies began. "Mrs. Clark, I assume your attorney is here to draft the appropriates." I cut him off. "Mr. Davies, this isn't my attorney. This is Mr. Wallace. He's an expert risk consultant." I gestured to Mr. Wallace, who simply opened his briefcase and placed a small, encrypted tablet on the principal's desk. The smugness immediately drained from Mr. Maxwell's face, replaced by a flicker of fear, the look of a man who recognizes a certain kind of professional trouble. "Now," I continued, standing up straight, "you gave me an ultimatum. Now I'm giving you one. Mr. Wallace has had 24 hours to conduct a preliminary audit on the digital footprint of the parents who demanded my son be banned from school." Mr. Wallace spoke for the first time, his voice soft but carrying. "Mr. Davies, I have compiled a comprehensive, time-stamped dossier. It includes a series of private, highly defamatory communications from Mrs. Maxwell, sent from her school board email to various members, disparaging several low-income families who receive tuition assistance, and explicitly calling for their removal from the school." Mrs. Maxwell gasped, her face turning ashen. I looked at the principal, who looked like he was about to vomit. I pressed on. "Furthermore, Mr. Wallace continued, tapping the tablet, "I found evidence of Mr. Maxwell using his corporate account and resources to threaten and intimidate witnesses in a past case that was quietly settled. An ethical violation that could easily lead to a bar investigation and the loss of his corporate clients." Mr. Maxwell was now shouting, standing up, "This is illegal. This is a violation of privacy." Mr. Wallace calmly looked at him. "Everything retrieved was from publicly accessible metadata, unsecured corporate cloud backups, or items that legally reside on the school board's own network, Mr. Maxwell. Nothing illegal, all highly actionable." I stepped in front of the desk, looking directly at the three terrified faces. "You banned my 7-year-old for protecting him from your entitled bully of a son, demanding a written apology. My demand is simpler. You will immediately lift Finn's suspension. You will issue a formal written statement to me confirming Ethan's permanent, immediate expulsion from this school. And the Maxwells will resign from every single committee and position related to this institution. By the end of the day, if I don't have that letter on my desk in the next hour, Mr. Wallace will be sending this entire, legally verified dossier, complete with all supporting evidence, to the school board president, the State Bar Association, and the largest newspaper in this city." The silence was deafening, broken only by Mr. Davies nervously adjusting his tie. 20 minutes later, the Maxwells had signed their resignations. Mr. Davies had delivered the expulsion and readmission letter, and Mr. Wallace and I quietly walked out of the office, the threat neutralized. 24 hours later, the tables had not just been turned. They had been atomized. The aftermath was satisfyingly swift and public, though I kept my part completely quiet. The Maxwells disappeared from the community circuit within a week. Mr. Maxwell's law firm, known for its emphasis on ethics, launched an internal investigation that ended his career there. Mrs. Maxwell's school board resignation was accepted immediately, with a polite but firm statement about unforeseen ethical conflicts. Finn returned to school the following Monday, and his teacher and Mr. Davies were practically bowing to him. The principal learned a valuable lesson that day. You can't bully a parent who is willing to fight dirty and who knows the right professional to call. My son is thriving now. He's happy, his old confidence is back, and he knows that his mother will always fight for him, no matter the odds. It was an expensive lesson for everyone, but for me and for Finn it was priceless, and that's the whole messy story. I still have the satisfaction of knowing I refused to apologize and instead took down the entire corrupted system they had built. Like this video if you were on my side, if you think I was right to bring in the big guns instead of folding. Subscribe for more stories like this where the power dynamic gets completely flipped. And please share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.